Welcome to Policy on Demand's Week in Review. I'm Andrew Pryor.
What would you tell clients are your takeaways from this week?
My key takeaway from this week is that bipartisan cooperation is still possible in Washington. There was broad bipartisan support for President Biden's decision to ban U.S. imports of Russian oil, gas, and coal. The House voted overwhelmingly to pass a bipartisan Russia trade sanctions bill, and Congress reached a bipartisan agreement on an omnibus appropriations bill to fund the federal government through the end of the current fiscal year and avoid a government shutdown. The spending bill includes aid to Ukraine, but it does not contain a tax title or address the R&D capitalization requirement. The next opportunity to pass legislation restoring R&D expensing may not materialize until after Q1 as Congress works to reconcile differences between the House-passed America Competes Act and the Senate-passed U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, or USICA.
Which question related to policy did you get asked the most, and how did you respond?
The question I got the most was around the fate of the Build Back Better budget reconciliation legislation and proposed tax increases. My response is the outlook hasn't really changed. The odds remain about 50-50 that Congress will pass a revised version of the House-passed Build Back Better Act, and congressional action still seems unlikely until late spring or summer. While the tax title has largely been decided, modifications, including effective date changes, are still possible depending on revenue needs, so companies need to stay engaged.
Where should companies focus their attention in the coming week?
Companies should continue to focus their attention on global tax policy developments. We're still awaiting the release of OECD commentary to the Pillar 2 model rules for implementing a global minimum tax, and EU finance ministers will be holding a critical meeting next week on advancing a draft EU directive on Pillar 2 implementation. The outcome of next week's ECOFIN meeting could determine whether the current timetable holds for finalizing the EU directive by the end of June, or if there is a significant delay. If the EU doesn't reach agreement next week, that could make it easier to make the case for a delayed effective date for, or even delayed action on, GILTI changes.